In a crumbling newsroom basement, a divorced mother organizing forgotten archives stumbled onto evidence of a $185 million conspiracy. Erica Jones wasn't your typical file clerk. For 15 years, she'd been an award-winning investigative journalist known for exposing corruption. When she discovered encrypted financial documents hidden in mislabeled boxes, she had no idea the trail would lead to her ex-husband's law firm and threats against her children. What began as desperate grunt work would become a battle against a media empire, proving that even the powerless can expose the truth if they're willing to risk everything. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. The parking lot of the Millstone Gazette was mostly empty at 8 in the morning. Erica Jones sat in her 12-year-old Honda Civic, staring at the 3-story brick building that would be her professional home. The paint peeled around the window frames. A gutter hung loose on the south corner. The neon sign that once proudly announced the newspaper's name had been dark for years. Its letters faded to the color of old bones. She'd won a Pulitzer nomination once. That felt like another lifetime. Erica checked her reflection in the rearview mirror. The dark circles under her eyes were barely concealed by drugstore makeup. She'd been up until 2 in the morning, balancing her bank account for the 3rd time that week, watching the numbers refuse to add up to enough. Emma needed new shoes, Daniel's school supplies, the lawyer's final invoice from the divorce. "You can do this," she whispered to herself. The words tasted like lies. The building's front door stuck when she pulled it. Inside, the reception area smelled of stale coffee and old paper. A young woman sat behind a desk cluttered with energy drink cans, her attention fixed on her laptop screen. She didn't look up. "Excuse me," Erica said. "I'm Erica Jones. Today's my first." "Upstairs. 2nd door on the left. Greg's expecting you." The woman's fingers never stopped typing. A name placard on her desk read Rachel Torres, digital media editor. Erica climbed the stairs. The carpet was worn thin in the middle, the banister loose under her hand. Through doorways, she glimpsed mostly empty desks, computer monitors from a decade ago, filing cabinets that looked older than she was. The newsroom occupied most of the 2nd floor. What had once been a bustling hive of journalists now held perhaps a dozen souls scattered among 40 desks. Most of them were old enough to remember when newspapers mattered. At the far end, a man sat hunched over his keyboard, a coffee mug beside him that read, "I hate Mondays and about 97% of people. You must be our new hire." The voice came from behind her. Erica turned to find a man in his late 40s, his tie loosened, his shirt wrinkled. Greg Palmer, according to his nameplate, the managing editor. "Erica Jones." She extended her hand. "Thank you for the opportunity." Greg's handshake was perfunctory. "Edmund wanted someone for the archives. Frankly, I told him we should just hire a high school kid. Cheaper." He looked her up and down. "But he insisted on someone with journalistic experience. Though I'm not sure what good that does for sorting old files." The comment landed like a slap. Erica felt her professional pride bristle, but she swallowed it down. She needed this job. "I'm happy to help however I can." "Right?" Greg gestured vaguely toward the back of the newsroom. "Edmund's in his office. He'll show you what needs doing." He started to walk away, then paused. "Word of advice? Don't get any ideas about being a reporter here. We're barely keeping the lights on as it is. Last thing we need is someone stirring up expensive investigative projects." Erica watched him disappear into his office. The man at the far desk, the one with the cynical coffee mug, glanced up at her briefly. Their eyes met. He shook his head almost imperceptibly, then returned to his typing. Edmund Cartwright's office was a time capsule. The walls were covered with framed front pages spanning 5 decades. Awards and commendations. Photos of a younger Edmund shaking hands with governors, senators, presidents. The man himself sat behind a massive oak desk that had probably witnessed more history than most people lived through. "Erica." His voice was warm, gravelly. He rose with some effort, extending both hands to clasp hers. "Thank you for coming. Please sit. Edmund was 72, but he carried himself with the dignity of someone who'd spent a lifetime asking difficult questions and telling uncomfortable truths. His eyes were sharp despite the wrinkles around them. I read your work from before, he said, settling back into his chair. The series on municipal corruption in Newark. Outstanding journalism. You should have won the Pulitzer for that. That was a long time ago. Erica heard the defensive edge in her own voice and hated it. Good journalism doesn't expire. Edmund leaned forward. I know this isn't what you dreamed of doing when you went into this profession. Hell, it's not what I dreamed of either, and I've been here 45 years. But the work still matters, even if it's just organizing archives. About that, the basement, Edmund interrupted gently. I'm afraid it's a mess. Decades of files, boxes, records. We're supposed to be digitizing everything, but... He gestured around the office, the building, the dying newspaper. Resources are limited. I need someone with a journalist's eye to go through it all. Someone who understands what's worth preserving and what's just taking up space. It was grunt work dressed up as something meaningful. They both knew it. But Edmund's kindness in the explanation made it somehow easier to bear. I'll do my best, Erica said. That's all anyone can ask. Edmund stood again, this time moving to a filing cabinet. He pulled out a key ring. Basement access. Take your time down there. If you find anything interesting, let me know. This newspaper has been part of this community since 1947. Its history matters, even if its future is uncertain. There was something in his voice, a weariness, yes, but also something else. A weight he carried that went beyond the simple struggle of keeping a dying business alive. Mr. Cartwright, are you all right? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. The vultures are circling, Erica. Apex Media Group has been making offers for 2 years now. Each one more generous than the last. Each one a death sentence for what this paper stands for. He returned to his desk, suddenly looking every one of his 72 years. But that's not your concern. You have enough to worry about. The dismissal was gentle but clear. Erica took the keys and left him staring at his wall of memories. The school called at 3:15. Daniel had been in a fight. Erica sat in Principal Morrison's office, her son beside her, his eye swelling shut. The other boy, Tyler something from a wealthier family, sat with his mother on the opposite side of the room. Tyler had a bloody nose but wore it like a badge of honor. Daniel threw the first punch, Principal Morrison said. He was young for a principal, probably eager to prove his authority. We have a zero-tolerance policy for violence. What did Tyler say to him? Erica asked. That's not. What did he say? Daniel's voice was small. He said you were a failure, that you got fired from your real job and now you work at a dying newspaper nobody reads. The other mother gasped theatrically. That doesn't give your son the right to. Your son was bullying mine. Erica's voice was level, but something cold had settled in her chest. Daniel defended himself. By using violence, Principal Morrison interjected, which is unacceptable. Daniel is suspended for 3 days. Tyler is also suspended. But given that Daniel initiated the physical altercation, fine. Erica stood. She put her hand on Daniel's shoulder. Come on, sweetheart. In the car, Daniel cried. I'm sorry, Mom. He kept saying things and I know, baby. Erica reached over and squeezed his hand. I know. But she didn't know how to explain to a 9-year-old that sometimes the truth hurt worse than lies. That she was working at a dying newspaper. That she had failed at maintaining the career she'd worked so hard to build. That the divorce, the financial struggle, the reduction of their lives to something smaller and meaner. All of it was real and no amount of punching Tyler would change it. Marcus was waiting at her apartment when they arrived. He leaned against his BMW, new, expensive, a reminder of everything the divorce had given him and taken from her. Emma sat in the passenger seat, her headphones on, deliberately not looking at either of her parents. School called me too, Marcus said. His suit was impeccable. His jaw was set in that expression she'd learned to recognize over 13 years of marriage. disappointed but not surprised. "It's handled," Erica said. "Is it?" Marcus looked at Daniel's black eye. "Jesus, Erica. You've had him for 3 days and already—" "Don't." The word came out sharper than she intended. Daniel flinched. She softened her voice. "Don't do this in front of him." Marcus had the decency to look ashamed. He crouched down to Daniel's level. "Hey, buddy. You okay?" Daniel nodded, not meeting his father's eyes. "Go inside and start your homework," Erica said. "I'll be up in a minute." Daniel disappeared into the building. Through the BMW's window, Erica could see Emma watching them, her expression unreadable. "This isn't working," Marcus said, standing again. "The kids need stability. You're barely holding on financially. You're working a job that's clearly beneath you, and now Daniel's getting into fights. He got into one fight because another kid was bullying him about our divorce. A divorce you wanted. A divorce I wanted because you were sleeping with your paralegal." Erica kept her voice low, conscious of Emma in the car. "Don't rewrite history to make yourself feel better about it." Marcus's jaw tightened. For a moment, she saw something behind his carefully constructed exterior. Guilt, maybe, or frustration, or both. "I'm trying to do what's best for them. By criticizing every choice I make? By making me feel like I'm failing them every time they're with me? Are you?" The question hung between them. Because from where I'm standing, taking a job organizing basement files isn't exactly the mark of someone who has their life together. The words hit precisely where he'd aimed them. Erica felt something crack inside her chest. Not breaking, but definitely fracturing. "The kids are fine with me," she said quietly. "And if you have concerns about custody, take them to court. Otherwise, I'll see you Friday when you pick them up." She turned away before he could respond, before he could see the tears threatening to spill over. Behind her, she heard his car door open, Emma getting out. "Mom!" Emma's voice was flat, exhausted. At 14, she'd mastered the art of sounding older than her years. "Can we just go inside?" Upstairs, their apartment felt smaller than ever. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a kitchen where the cabinets didn't quite close. Emma went immediately to her room and shut the door. Daniel sat at the kitchen table, his homework untouched, staring at nothing. "Does Dad hate you?" he asked suddenly. Erica sat beside him. "No, baby. Your father and I we hurt each other. And sometimes when people are hurt, they say things they don't mean. Tyler said newspapers are dead. He said only old people read them and soon there won't be any left. Maybe he's right." Daniel looked at her, shocked. "But you work at a newspaper." "I do. So what happens when it dies?" It was the question Erica had been asking herself every night at 2 in the morning, staring at her bank balance. What happens when this job disappears too? What then? "I don't know," she said honestly. "But we'll figure it out. We always do." Daniel seemed satisfied with this, though Erica knew it was a temporary piece. He returned to his homework. She started dinner, spaghetti again because it was cheap, and filled them up. Through Emma's closed door, she could hear music playing, the bass line thumping like an accusation. Later, after the kids were asleep, Erica sat at her laptop, looking at her bank account. $3,000 left until her next paycheck. Rent was $2,200. Emma's school trip was coming up, $200. Daniel needed new shoes. The car was making a noise she was deliberately ignoring because she couldn't afford to know what it meant. Her phone buzzed. A text from an old colleague at the Newark Chronicle. "Saw you're at the Millstone Gazette now. How's that going? We miss you." She didn't respond. There was nothing to say. Yes, she was at the Millstone Gazette. Yes, it was exactly as depressing as it sounded. Yes, she missed real journalism, missed being someone who mattered, missed feeling like her work had purpose beyond simple survival. But that life was gone. She'd made her choices to prioritize her children, to step away from the career that consumed her, to try to be a better mother than a journalist. And this was the cost. This apartment, this job, this constant, grinding awareness that she'd traded one version of herself for another and wasn't sure either one was enough. Erica closed her laptop. Tomorrow she'd go back to the Gazette's basement and start sorting through boxes of old stories written by people who'd believed journalism mattered. She'd organize files and digitize records and try not to think about how this was all that remained of her professional life. But tonight, in the dark quiet of her too-small apartment, with her children sleeping and her ex-husband's words still ringing in her ears, Erica Jones allowed herself to feel the full weight of everything she'd lost, and everything she stood to lose if she couldn't find a way to make this work. The basement key sat on her kitchen counter, its metal dull in the dim light. Tomorrow would bring the archives, the dust, the forgotten stories of a newspaper's long history. She'd go through the boxes methodically, cataloging decades of journalism now reduced to mere records. She had no way of knowing that buried in those boxes, mislabeled and deliberately hidden, was a story that would either resurrect her career or destroy what remained of her life. That in the mundane task of organizing forgotten files, she would stumble onto evidence of a conspiracy so vast it reached into the highest levels of power. That sometimes the most important stories find you when you're not looking for them at all. The basement of the Millstone Gazette smelled like decay and forgotten promises. Erica descended the narrow stairs on her fourth morning, the overhead bulb flickering with each step. The space stretched wider than the building's footprint suggested. A labyrinth of metal shelving units loaded with bankers' boxes, file cabinets that hadn't been opened in decades, and stacks of bound newspapers turning brittle with age. She'd developed a system. Start at the north wall, work methodically through each shelf, catalog the contents, flag anything that needed special preservation, and create a digital inventory. It was mind-numbing work, but there was something oddly satisfying about bringing order to chaos. Something that reminded her of the early days of her career, when she'd spent weeks in municipal archives tracking paper trails that led to corruption. The box labeled Advertising 2009 to 2010 sat on the third shelf, unremarkable among hundreds of others. Erica almost missed it, would have missed it if not for the weight. She'd lifted enough archive boxes to know their heft. Paper had a predictable density. This one was too heavy. She set it on the folding table she'd commandeered as a workspace. The cardboard was newer than it should be for a box allegedly from 2009. No dust on the lid, while the boxes flanking it were covered. Someone had placed this here recently, or at least more recently than 15 years ago. Inside, manila folders were arranged with meticulous precision, but they contained no advertising contracts, no rate sheets, no correspondence with local businesses. Instead, Erica found herself staring at financial documents that made no sense in an advertising archive. Account statements from banks she didn't recognize. Cayman Islands, Luxembourg, Singapore. Transaction records with amounts that made her breath catch. $847,000 transferred to Mill Creek Properties LLC. $1. $2 million routed through something called Apex Acquisitions Group. $3. $2 million listed simply as Project Millstone Phase 7. Her hands were shaking. She recognized this feeling. The electric charge that ran through her body when she knew she'd found something. The same sensation she'd felt in Newark when she'd first uncovered the city council's kickback scheme. Her investigative instincts, dormant for a decade, surged back to life. Erica pulled out her phone and began photographing documents. The lighting was poor, so she adjusted the angle, ensuring every line was legible. Account numbers, routing codes, names of shell companies, dates spanning from 2008 to 2010. Some correspondence was in plain English, but other documents used language that felt deliberately obscure: media infrastructure utilization, asset conversion protocols, syndication revenue redistribution. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. At the bottom of the box, she found a letter on Apex Media Group letterhead. The signature was illegible, but the typed name beneath it read, Victor Reeves, Chief Executive Officer. Apex Media, the company Edmund had mentioned. The vultures circling the Gazette. Finding anything interesting down there? Erica's heart hammered. She looked up to find Greg Palmer standing at the base of the stairs, his expression carefully neutral. How long had he been watching? Just the usual, she said, casually closing the box lid. Old advertising files. Revenue reports. Greg descended the last few steps. His eyes moved from her face to the box to her phone, still in her hand. That's odd. I don't remember advertising files being stored in that section. The labeling system is pretty chaotic. Erica kept her voice even. Boxes are rarely where they should be, right? Greg moved closer. Too close. She could smell his cologne, see the slight tension in his jaw. Look, Erica, I know this work seems tedious, but it's important you stick to your assignment. Just catalog and move on. We're not looking for complications. Complications. Deep dives into old records. Questions about things that don't concern you. His smile didn't reach his eyes. We're barely keeping this place running. Last thing we need is someone getting distracted by ancient history. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a warning. Of course, Erica said. I'm just here to organize. Greg held her gaze for a long moment, then nodded. Good. Edmund likes you. Let's keep it that way. He climbed back up the stairs, his footsteps echoing. Erica waited until she heard the door close above. Then she opened the box again, her pulse racing. Whatever was in these files, Greg Palmer didn't want her looking at them, which meant they mattered. She worked quickly, photographing the remaining documents. Her phone's storage was filling up, but she couldn't stop. Each page revealed more pieces of a puzzle she didn't yet understand. Wire transfers, acquisition agreements, something called Consolidated Media Asset Securitization. Jesus Christ, a voice said behind her. Erica spun. Jimmy O'Malley stood at the bottom of the stairs, a coffee mug in one hand, his bloodshot eyes fixed on the documents spread across her table. How long have you been standing there? Long enough. Jimmy set his mug down and picked up one of the bank statements. His hands trembled slightly. Whether from age, alcohol, or something else, Erica couldn't tell. Where did you find these? Mislabeled box. Someone put financial records in an advertising archive. She watched him carefully. You know what this is, don't you? Jimmy's face had gone pale. He set the document down like it might burn him. Kid, listen to me. Some boxes are better left unopened. That's the second warning I've gotten today. Then maybe you should take the hint. But his voice lacked conviction. He picked up another document, his eyes scanning the text. Something flickered across his face. Recognition, maybe, or regret. 15 years ago, I noticed something. Financial irregularities in our own books. Money moving in ways that didn't make sense. What did you do? I asked Edmund about it. Jimmy's voice was bitter. He told me to drop it. Said it was complicated, that I didn't understand the full picture. I was younger then, still thought I could change things. So I pushed. Edmund made it clear that pushing harder would mean losing my job. He met her eyes. I dropped it. Been writing obituaries ever since. You're telling me to walk away. I'm telling you that whatever's in those boxes, powerful people wanted it buried. Jimmy gestured at the documents. You're a single mother with 2 kids and an ex-husband who's looking for reasons to take custody. Is this really the fight you want to pick? It was a fair question, a rational question. The smart answer was no. Put the documents back, finish cataloging the archives, collect her paycheck, and keep her head down. She had Emma and Daniel to think about. She had bills to pay and a life to rebuild. But journalism had never been about smart choices. It had been about truth, even when truth was inconvenient. Especially then. I need to know what this is, Erica said quietly. Jimmy studied her for a long moment. Then he sighed, the sound of a man recognizing his own past mistakes in someone else's present choices. You're going to need help with the encryption. Encryption. He pointed to several documents covered in alphanumeric codes. Those aren't financial records. Those are encrypted files. Someone went through a lot of trouble to hide whatever's in them. He paused. Rachel might be able to crack them. Kid's a wizard with technology, even if she does spend too much time on social media. Rachel Torres? Don't let the energy drinks and the attitude fool you. She's got a master's degree in data journalism from Columbia. Took this job because nobody else was hiring. She's frustrated, bored, and probably looking for something real to work on. Jimmy picked up his coffee mug. But if you bring her in on this, you're committing. No going back. Erica looked at the documents spread across her table. Evidence of something. She didn't know what yet, but something significant. Something people wanted hidden. The journalist she used to be was screaming at her to dig deeper. The mother she'd become was warning her to walk away. I'll think about it, she said finally. Jimmy nodded. Think fast. Greg's already suspicious, and he's not the only one watching. He started up the stairs, then paused. For what it's worth, the Erica Jones who won that Pulitzer nomination wouldn't have needed to think about it at all. The words stung because they were true. The old Erica would have already been 3 steps ahead, mapping connections, identifying sources, building a case. But the old Erica hadn't been responsible for 2 children's welfare, hadn't been navigating the wreckage of a failed marriage and a derailed career. Erica carefully returned the documents to the box, but she didn't reshelve it. Instead, she carried it to a corner of the basement behind a filing cabinet, somewhere it wouldn't be immediately visible. Then she went back upstairs, her mind racing. Rachel Torres sat at her desk, 3 monitors displaying different social media platforms. She looked up as Erica approached, pulling out one earbud. Can I help you with something? The tone suggested Erica was interrupting something important, though the screens showed mostly cat videos and Twitter arguments. I found some encrypted files in the archives, Erica said carefully. I was hoping you might take a look at them. Professional interest. Rachel's expression shifted from bored dismissal to curious attention. What kind of encryption? I'm not sure. Financial documents with alphanumeric coding. Looks deliberate. Probably RSA or AES. Rachel minimized her windows. How old? 15 years. Give or take. Rachel actually smiled. Older encryption is easier to crack. Standards from 2009 are basically antiques now. She grabbed a flash drive from her desk drawer. Let me see what you've got. That evening, Erica sat in her car outside Emma's school, waiting for pickup. Her phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Got into the first file. You need to see this. Not over text. Through the school's glass doors, Erica watched Emma laughing with friends. 14 years old, navigating the social complexities of high school with more grace than Erica had ever managed. Daniel would be at Marcus's tonight. His father had insisted on makeup time after the suspension. Emma climbed into the car, her smile evaporating the moment she saw her mother. How was school? Erica asked. Fine. Anything interesting happen? Not really. It was going to be one of those nights. Erica pulled out of the parking lot, trying to think of something to bridge the distance between them. But what could she say? That she was sorry for the divorce? That she wished she could give Emma the life they'd had before? That she was terrified she was failing as a mother? Mom! Emma's voice was quieter now, uncertain. You were working late again last night. I heard you on your laptop at like 2 in the morning. Just catching up on some things. Is it about money? Are we going to be okay? The question broke something in Erica's chest. Emma shouldn't have to worry about money. She should be thinking about boys and homework and which college she might attend someday. Not whether they could afford to keep the lights on. Rachel's apartment was above a coffee shop that closed at 6. The smell of stale espresso permeated everything. She'd set up 3 monitors on a desk that took up half her living room, each screen displaying cascading data that meant nothing to Erica but seemed to excite Rachel immensely. Okay, so here's what I found. Rachel pulled up a spreadsheet. That encryption was amateur hour. Whoever set this up in 2009 thought they were being clever, but it's basically a modified Caesar cipher with some hash salting. Took me about 40 minutes to crack. And Erica leaned forward, her pulse quickening. And you've got yourself a financial conspiracy. Rachel's fingers flew across the keyboard. Look at this. Apex Media Group acquires the Columbus Register in March 2009 for $2. $4 million. Standard purchase price for a struggling regional paper. But buried in the transaction here is an additional transfer of $3. $2 million routed through a shell company called Millstone Holdings LLC. Why would they pay more than the reported price? They wouldn't, unless they weren't paying for the newspaper. Rachel pulled up another document. 6 months later, same pattern. Apex buys the Dayton Chronicle. Purchase price $1. $8 million. Hidden transfer $4. $1 million. Then the Toledo Observer, the Akron News, the Springfield Gazette. She scrolled through a list that kept going. I found 47 newspapers so far, all acquired by Apex Media between 2008 and 2023. Every single one has these hidden transfers. Erica's mind raced, connecting dots. How much total? Rachel hit a key. A number appeared at the bottom of the spreadsheet. $185,347,000. Jesus Christ. Erica sat back. $185 million. Moving through newspaper acquisitions, hidden behind legitimate business transactions. It's money laundering. That would be my guess. Rachel opened another file. And look at the legal paperwork. Same law firm handled almost all of these deals. Whitmore and Associates. Ring any bells? Erica's stomach dropped. That's my ex-husband's firm. Seriously? Rachel spun in her chair. Okay, that's either a really weird coincidence or... Let me see the documents. Erica moved closer to the screen. Her hands were shaking as Rachel pulled up PDF after PDF of acquisition agreements. There, on page 7 of the Columbus Register purchase. Legal counsel. Marcus Pemberton, Senior Associate, Whitmore and Associates. The Dayton Chronicle, Marcus Pemberton, Partner. The Toledo Observer, Marcus Pemberton, Senior Partner. 47 newspapers. Marcus's name appeared on 32 of the transactions. Are you okay? Rachel asked. You look like you might pass out. Erica wasn't okay. She was staring at evidence that her ex-husband, the father of her children, had facilitated what appeared to be a massive money laundering operation. Either Marcus knew what he was doing, which made him a criminal, or he didn't know, which made him dangerously incompetent. Neither option was good. I need to think, Erica said. Think fast. Because if this is what I think it is, you're looking at organized crime using media acquisitions as a front. And people who run schemes this big don't like being exposed. Erica drove home in a daze. Her phone rang 3 times. Marcus, probably calling about Daniel's homework or Emma's upcoming school trip. She didn't answer. She couldn't talk to him right now, not with this knowledge burning in her mind. At a red light, she pulled up Marcus's contact. His profile picture showed him in a suit, smiling confidently. The man she'd married at 25, believing they'd build a life together. The man who'd betrayed her with someone younger, prettier, more convenient. The man who now might be tied to a criminal conspiracy worth nearly $200 million. Did he know? The question consumed her. Marcus was ambitious, status-conscious, willing to cut ethical corners for advancement, but involved in money laundering, helping criminals hide their profits. Her phone buzzed. A text from Edmund. Can you stop by my office tomorrow morning? Want to discuss the archive progress. Then another message, this one from an unknown number. Stop digging. This is your only warning. Erica's blood went cold. She stared at the screen, reading the message again. Someone knew what she was investigating. Someone knew her phone number. Someone was watching. The light turned green. Behind her, a car honked. Erica accelerated, her eyes flicking to the rearview mirror. A black SUV 2 cars back. Had it been there when she left Rachel's apartment? She couldn't remember. She turned left at the next intersection. The SUV followed. Right turn. The SUV maintained distance. No, Erica whispered. No, no, no. She pulled into a gas station, her heart hammering. The SUV drove past without slowing. Different driver, different make. Not following her. Just paranoia. But the text message was real. Inside the gas station bathroom, Erica splashed water on her face. The fluorescent lighting made her look older, more worn. She thought about Daniel's black eye, about Emma's resentment, about the precarious balance of her life. One wrong move and everything could collapse. Walking away would be smart. Forget the documents, forget the investigation, finish cataloging the archives and collect her paycheck. Let someone else expose Apex Media's crimes. Someone with fewer vulnerabilities, fewer people to protect. But as she stood there, staring at her reflection, Erica remembered who she used to be. The journalist who'd spent 6 months living in her car to investigate municipal corruption. Who'd received death threats from city council members and kept publishing anyway. Who'd believed, naively perhaps, that truth mattered more than personal safety. That woman felt like a stranger now. But maybe she didn't have to be. Erica pulled out her phone and called Jimmy O'Malley. "It's after 10, he answered, his voice rough. "This better be good." "I need to know what you saw 15 years ago," Erica said. "Everything you noticed, everything Edmund told you to drop. I need to know now." A long pause. Then, "Meet me at the office. 20 minutes. And Jones? Make sure nobody follows you." "We're going to be fine," Erica said. It wasn't quite a lie. They would be fine as long as nothing else went wrong. As long as she kept this job. As long as she didn't do anything stupid like investigate a potential conspiracy that might destroy what little stability they had left. But as she drove home, Erica couldn't stop thinking about those encrypted files. About the money, so much money, hidden in mislabeled boxes. About Greg's warning and Jimmy's regret and Rachel's text. About the journalist she used to be, and whether that person was truly gone, or just waiting for the right story to bring her back to life. Even if that story might cost her everything she had left to lose. The Gazette building was dark except for a single light in Edmund's office. Jimmy waited in the parking lot, leaning against his ancient Volvo, a cigarette glowing in the darkness. "Thought you quit," Erica said as she approached. "I did. 3 times. He took a final drag and ground it out under his heel. 15 years ago, I was still drinking heavy. My marriage was falling apart. I was working the city council beat, barely holding it together. He unlocked the building's front door. But I was still a journalist. Still noticed things. Inside, the newsroom felt different at night. Less defeated, more ghostly. The empty desks held the shadows of reporters who'd once filled them, chasing stories that mattered. Jimmy led her to a filing cabinet in the back corner. He pulled out a key hidden under a coffee mug and opened the bottom drawer. Inside were notebooks, dozens of them, filled with Jimmy's cramped handwriting. "I kept copies," he said. "Everything I found back then. Edmund told me to drop it, but I couldn't, so I documented it all and hid it here." He pulled out a notebook dated 2009. "Started noticing money coming into the Gazette that didn't match our revenue streams. Cash deposits, always just under 10,000 to avoid reporting requirements. Then I found wire transfers from companies I'd never heard of." Erica opened the notebook. Page after page of financial notations, questions, connections drawn between names and amounts. Jimmy had been building a case. "I confronted Edmund in his office. Asked him point blank what was happening." Jimmy's voice was bitter. "He said I didn't understand the complexity of keeping a newspaper alive. That sometimes you made compromises. He told me if I valued my job, I'd forget what I'd seen. And you did." "I did." He met her eyes. "I had a mortgage, a wife who was threatening to leave, a drinking problem I couldn't afford to lose my health insurance over. So I made the coward's choice. I stopped investigating and started writing obituaries." He gestured at the notebooks. "But I kept these, in case someday I found the courage to do something with them." Erica photographed page after page. The evidence Jimmy had compiled corroborated everything she and Rachel had found. Money flowing through the Gazette, shell companies. Apex Media's name appearing repeatedly. "There's more," Jimmy said. 3 months after I dropped the investigation, a woman came to see me. Wouldn't give her name, wouldn't meet in the office. We sat in my car in a Walmart parking lot while she told me everything." "Who was she?" "An accountant. Worked for Apex Media. She'd discovered what they were doing. using newspaper acquisitions to launder money from organized crime. Real estate deals, offshore accounts, political payoffs. She wanted to expose it, but she was terrified. Said people who crossed Apex Media ended up dead or disappeared. Erica's mouth went dry. What happened to her? She gave me copies of internal documents. Said she'd testify if I wrote the story. But when I went back to her a week later, Jimmy's hands trembled. Her apartment was cleared out. Neighbors said she'd moved suddenly, no forwarding address. I tried to find her for months. Nothing. You think Apex found out? I think she got smart and ran. He pulled out another notebook, this one containing photocopies of documents. These are what she gave me. I've been sitting on them for 15 years, telling myself I was waiting for the right moment. Truth is, I was too scared to use them. The documents were damning. Internal Apex Media emails discussing asset conversion protocols and syndication revenue redistribution, corporate speak for money laundering. Financial projections showing how much illicit cash could be moved through each newspaper acquisition. And names. Victor Reeves, Apex's CEO, his signature on dozens of memos authorizing transfers. This is enough, Erica said. This is enough to bring federal investigators in. Is it? Jimmy's voice was sharp. You think I didn't consider that? I called the FBI. They took my statement, looked at the documents, and told me they'd investigate. 6 months later, they closed the case. Insufficient evidence, they said. Couldn't establish criminal intent. They were bought off. Or intimidated. Or both. Jimmy closed the filing cabinet. That's when I really understood what we were up against. Apex Media doesn't just have money. They have connections. Politicians, judges, law enforcement. They're untouchable. Erica's phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Last warning. Walk away. She showed it to Jimmy. His face hardened. They know you're investigating. Probably have someone watching the building, monitoring communications. He looked around the dark newsroom. Greg, maybe, or someone else on staff. How do I find the accountant? The woman who came to you? You don't. She's either dead or smart enough to stay hidden. Jimmy paused. But there might be someone else. When I was investigating, I heard rumors about another Apex employee who discovered the scheme. Someone in their financial division. I never tracked them down, but if they're still alive, still working there, they'd be the inside source we need. They'd also be risking their life talking to you. Erica thought about Emma and Daniel. About Marcus's involvement, whether knowing or unknowing. About the precarious stability of her life that could shatter with one wrong move. Every rational instinct told her to walk away, delete the photos, forget everything she'd learned. But she kept seeing that number, $185,347,000. Nearly $200 million in criminal proceeds, laundered through the destruction of local newspapers. How many journalists had lost their jobs? How many communities had lost their local news? Also, criminals could hide their money and Apex Media could build an empire. I need to find them, Erica said. Jimmy studied her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his phone and scrolled through old contacts. There was a name. Someone mentioned it to me years ago when I was still asking questions. Katerina something. Russian, I think. Worked as a senior accountant for Apex. He found what he was looking for. Katerina Volkov. I never followed up because by then I'd already been told to drop it. Erica wrote down the name. How do I find her? Carefully. Very carefully. Jimmy closed his notebook. And Jones? When they start threatening you, really threatening you, don't ignore it. These people don't bluff. They left the building separately. Erica drove home, checking her mirrors constantly. No black SUVs, no obvious tails. But she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. At home, the apartment was silent. Emma and Daniel were both at Marcus's for the night. The emptiness felt oppressive. Erica sat at her kitchen table, spreading out her notes, trying to map the conspiracy. 47 newspapers. $185 million. Marcus's name on 32 transactions. Victor Reeves orchestrating everything. Edmund Cartwright complicit, allowing his newspaper to be used as a front. Greg Palmer probably serving as Apex's inside man at the Gazette. And somewhere out there, an accountant named Katerina Volkov who might know everything. Erica's phone rang. Marcus. She stared at his name on the screen, trying to decide if she could talk to him without revealing what she knew. The call went to voicemail, then a text. Emma says you've been working late a lot. Kids are worried about you. Are you okay? Was she okay? She was investigating a criminal conspiracy that implicated her ex-husband, receiving anonymous threats, and putting her children at risk. No, she wasn't okay. She was terrified, but she was also more alive than she'd felt in 10 years. Erica opened her laptop and began searching for Katerina Volkov. LinkedIn showed 3 possibilities. The first was too young. The second lived in California. The third had no photo, listed her location as Midwest, and worked as a financial consultant. The profile hadn't been updated in 2 years. It took 3 more hours and some creative searching through public records, but Erica finally found an address. Katerina Volkov, age 52, residing in a small town 40 miles west. No phone number listed, no social media presence. Someone who deliberately made herself difficult to find. Erica sent her an email through LinkedIn, keeping it vague. I'm a journalist investigating Apex Media's acquisition practices. I believe you may have information that could help. Would you be willing to talk? This would be completely confidential. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. The response came at 3 in the morning. Grant Park, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Come alone. Tell no one. If I see anyone else, I disappear. Erica sat in the dark, staring at the message. This was the moment. The point where a cautious person would stop, bring in law enforcement, protect themselves. The point where someone with children to support would remember their priorities and walk away. But Erica had spent 10 years being cautious. 10 years prioritizing everything except the part of herself that needed to chase truth. Grant Park was empty at 2 p.m. A woman in a headscarf sat beside Erica, gaunt and pale. I'm dying, Katerina said. Cancer. 6 months. I'm sorry. Don't be. Freed me. She turned, eyes yellowed with illness. I can finally tell the truth. Katerina handed Erica a flash drive. Everything. 15 years of Apex Media's financial records. Offshore accounts, shell companies, every newspaper acquisition with hidden transfers. I copied it all before I left. Why now? Guilt. Katerina's laugh was bitter. I discovered the laundering 5 years ago, reported it internally. They offered me $200,000 to resign and sign an NDA. I took it. She touched the scarf covering her thinning hair. Bought myself time, comfort, silence. And the documents at the Gazette? I planted them 6 months ago, drove there at night, broke into the basement, hid them in mislabeled boxes. Hoped someone would find them. Katerina met Erica's eyes. Hoped someone like you would care enough to investigate. Erica clutched the flash drive. Victor Reeves is ruthless, connected to organized crime, politicians, judges, people who've threatened him disappear. A source in Chicago? Car accident. A reporter in Cleveland? House fire. Katerina stood, unsteady. Be careful who you trust. Apex has people inside law enforcement. Wait, I need more. No more meetings. Too dangerous for both of us. Katerina started walking away, then paused. Your ex-husband, Marcus Pemberton. He facilitated 32 acquisitions. Either he knew what he was doing, or he's willfully blind. Either way, exposing this destroys him. She disappeared into the trees before Erica could respond. Back at her car, Erica called Detective Lisa Nakamura. Jimmy had mentioned her once. A financial crimes investigator who tried to build a case against Apex years ago. This is Nakamura. My name is Erica Jones. I'm a journalist and I have evidence of a $185 million money laundering operation. Silence. Then, where are you? They met at a diner across town. Lisa was in her mid-40s, methodical in her questions, skeptical in her expression. She reviewed the flash drive contents on her laptop, her face hardening with each file. "This is substantial," Lisa said finally. "But I've been down this road before. Apex Media has connections. Last time I investigated them, my superiors shut it down. Political pressure. So we can't trust your department?" "We can't trust everyone in my department." Lisa closed her laptop. "I need more than documents. I need witnesses. Direct testimony linking Victor Reeves to criminal activity." "Katerina won't testify. Terminal illness took a settlement. Defense attorneys would shred her credibility." Lisa leaned forward. "I need someone inside Apex now. Someone still employed, still part of their operations." Erica thought about Marcus, about whether he'd cooperate if she confronted him, whether he'd choose his children over his career. Her phone buzzed. Marcus calling again. This time she answered. "We need to talk," she said. "Finally. Look, about custody. Not about that. About your work. About Apex Media and the acquisitions you facilitated." The silence stretched too long. "Erica, what are you doing?" "My job. The one I should never have stopped doing." She met Lisa's eyes across the table. "Meet me tomorrow. Bring everything you have on the Apex deals. Every document, every communication." "Are you investigating me?" Marcus's voice rose. "Jesus Christ, Erica. This is why we can't co-parent. You turn everything into some crusade." "Tomorrow, noon, the courthouse steps." She hung up. Lisa raised an eyebrow. "That went well. He'll come. He's terrified." Erica pocketed her phone. "Question is whether he's scared because he's guilty or because he's just now realizing what he was part of." "Either way," Lisa said, "you just put a target on your back. Apex will know you approached law enforcement within hours. They already know I'm investigating. Investigating is one thing. Bringing in the police is another." Lisa stood. "Go home. Pack essentials for your kids. Have a safe place ready. When this breaks, it'll break fast." Erica drove home as dusk settled. Emma was back from Marcus's, sitting on the couch scrolling through her phone. "We need to talk," Erica said. Emma didn't look up. "If this is about Dad, I don't want to hear it. It's about safety. Yours and Daniel's." That got her attention. Emma set down her phone, her face suddenly young and frightened. "Mom, what's happening?" Erica sat beside her daughter, trying to find words that wouldn't terrify a 14-year-old but wouldn't lie either. "I'm working on something important, something that might make some people angry. I need you to be ready to stay with Aunt Claire for a while." "How long?" "I don't know yet." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Is this because of Dad? Because of the divorce?" "No, baby. This is about my work." "Your work at a dying newspaper nobody reads?" The bitterness in Emma's voice cut deep. What could possibly be that important? How could Erica explain that truth mattered even when it cost everything? That some stories were worth the sacrifice? That the journalist she'd been, the one Emma barely remembered, had to resurface now or die completely? "Sometimes," Erica said quietly, "the most important work happens in dying places, because that's where people stop paying attention, where they think nobody's watching." Emma wiped her eyes. "I hate this. I hate that you're doing something dangerous. I hate that you won't tell me what it is." "I know. But you're going to do it anyway." "Yes." Emma stood, grabbed her phone. At her bedroom door, she paused. "Just don't die, okay? Daniel and I already lost our family. We can't lose you too." The door closed. Erica sat alone in the living room, the flash drive heavy in her pocket, the weight of her choices crushing down. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Final warning. Your children are beautiful. Would be a shame if something happened. Erica's blood turned to ice. Erica's hands shook as she screenshot the threat and forwarded it to Lisa Nakamura. Then she called her sister in Michigan. "Claire, I need you to take the kids. Tonight." "What?" "Erica, it's almost 10. Please. I'll explain later. Just come get them. Now." 2 hours later, Emma and Daniel were packed into Claire's minivan, confused and frightened. Daniel cried. Emma stared at Erica with accusation and fear mixed in her eyes. "I love you," Erica said through the car window. "This is temporary. Promise." She watched the taillights disappear, then went inside and locked every door. Her phone rang. "Jimmy, get to the Gazette. Now, we found something." The newsroom lights blazed. Jimmy and Rachel hunched over 3 monitors. Files spread across every surface. Greg Palmer's office was dark, his desk cleared. "Greg's gone," Jimmy said. "Cleaned out his desk this afternoon. Didn't tell anyone he was leaving. He ran." Rachel pulled up an email chain. "Look what I found in the server. Greg's been forwarding your work to an Apex Media address for 2 weeks. Every document you photographed, every search you ran. They know everything." Erica's stomach dropped. "How did you access his email?" "He used the same password for everything. Idiot." Rachel clicked through messages. "But here's the real problem. There's an email from this morning. Victor Reeves asking Greg to document your movements, your home address, your children's school schedules." The threat wasn't abstract anymore. It was specific, planned, deliberate. "We need to go to the police," Erica said. "Already called Nakamura," Jimmy replied. "She's on her way. But there's more. I went into Edmund's office while you were gone." He led her to Edmund's inner sanctum. The old man's desk was covered with medication bottles, medical documents. A handwritten letter sat in the center, dated that morning. Erica read it, her blood chilling with each line. "To whoever finds this, I am complicit. 15 years ago, Apex Media approached me with an offer. Allow them to use the Gazette's infrastructure for their operations, or watch the newspaper die. I chose survival. I chose cowardice. I allowed them to funnel money through our accounts, to use our acquisitions as cover for their laundering. I told myself I was saving jobs, preserving journalism. The truth is I was saving myself. Victor Reeves owns me. He owns this newspaper. He owns my legacy. The only redemption I have left is confession. To Erica Jones, publish the truth. Destroy what I built if you must. But don't let them silence you the way they silenced me." "Edmund Cartwright, he's not here," Jimmy said quietly. "His car's gone. He's not answering his phone." Rachel looked up from her monitors. "There's more. I cracked another encrypted file from the flash drive Katarina gave you. Internal Apex emails from last month. Victor Reeves discussing the Gazette acquisition. He's planning to finalize the purchase within 2 weeks, gut the staff, and use it as another front for laundering." "Edmund would never sell," Erica said. "He wouldn't have to if he's dead." Jimmy's voice was grim. "Heart attack, stroke, accident. Apex has made problems disappear before." Erica's phone buzzed. "Lisa Nakamura, on my way. Don't publish anything yet. We need to coordinate with federal investigators." Then another message. "Marcus, what the hell have you done? Apex Media's lawyers called my firm. They're threatening to expose me as part of a criminal investigation unless I convince you to stop. Erica, they know about Emma's school. They know about Daniel's soccer practice. Stop this now." Before she could respond, her phone rang. Unknown number. Against her better judgment, she answered. "Ms. Jones." The voice was smooth, cultured. "My name is Victor Reeves. I believe we should talk." Erica put the phone on speaker. Jimmy and Rachel froze. "I have nothing to say to you." "Then listen. You have evidence you think is damaging. You've spoken to dying accountants and burned out journalists. You've involved law enforcement. All very impressive, but ultimately futile. We have everything. Documents, testimony, email trails. You have pieces of a puzzle you don't understand." Victor's voice remained calm. "Yes, Apex Media uses newspaper acquisitions for financial operations. But those operations serve purposes that benefit people far more powerful than me. Politicians, judges, law enforcement officials, people who will ensure your evidence disappears and you along with it. Are you threatening me? I'm offering you a choice. Your ex-husband Marcus facilitated many of these transactions. Right now, he's a facilitator. Continue investigating, and he becomes the mastermind. Federal prosecutors will have no choice but to charge him. 20 years in prison. Your children lose their father. Erica's throat tightened. Marcus didn't know. Can you prove that? His signature is on 32 acquisition documents. His firm received millions in legal fees. A prosecutor could easily argue he was a willing participant. Victor paused. Or you stop investigating. Delete your evidence. And Marcus faces no charges. Your children keep their father. You keep your life. And you keep laundering money. Money that will be laundered regardless. The only question is whether your family survives the exposure. His voice hardened. You have 24 hours. After that, Marcus gets arrested, your children become targets, and that dying newspaper you work for gets buried in lawsuits. Choose wisely, Ms. Jones. The line went dead. Rachel stared at the phone. Holy shit. Jimmy poured himself coffee with shaking hands. He's not bluffing. I've seen what Apex does to people who cross them. Erica thought about Emma's face in the car window, about Daniel crying, about Marcus, for all his faults, being the father her children needed, about the impossible choice Victor had given her, truth or family, justice or survival. Her laptop sat open on a desk, the exposé half-written. 47 newspapers. $185 million. Victor Reeves's name on dozens of incriminating documents. Everything she needed to bring down Apex Media's empire. Everything except the certainty that doing so wouldn't destroy her children's lives. What do you want to do? Rachel asked quietly. Erica looked at Edmund's confession letter, at the evidence spread across the newsroom, at Jimmy and Rachel waiting for her decision. She thought about the journalist she used to be, the woman who'd spent months investigating corruption, who'd received death threats and kept publishing. That woman wouldn't have hesitated. But that woman hadn't been a mother. I need air. Erica walked to the window overlooking the empty street. A black SUV sat across the road, engine running. Watching. Her phone buzzed. A photo message from an unknown number. Emma and Daniel at their aunt's house, taken from outside through a window. The message below, beautiful children. Be ashamed. Erica's vision blurred with rage and terror. They'd followed her kids to Michigan. They were watching her children right now. She called Lisa Nakamura. They're threatening my kids. They sent photos. I'm 5 minutes away. Don't do anything. We can protect. Erica hung up. She looked at Jimmy and Rachel. We publish. Tonight. Everything. Erica, your kids are already in danger. The only way to protect them is exposure. Make this so public that Apex can't touch us without everyone knowing. Her voice steadied. We publish, we send copies to every major news outlet. We post it online where they can't suppress it. We make Victor Reeves's name toxic. Rachel's fingers flew across her keyboard. I can have it live in 20 minutes. Push it to social media. Send it to the Associated Press, the New York Times, Washington Post. Do it. Jimmy grabbed his coat. Then I'm calling every contact I have. 40 years in journalism. Time to see if any of them still give a damn about the truth. Erica sat at her computer and began typing. Not the careful, measured exposé she'd been drafting. Something rawer. More direct. The $185 million secret. How Apex Media Used Journalism to Launder Criminal Funds by Erica Jones. Her fingers moved faster. Every fact, every document, every connection. Edmund's confession. Katerina's testimony. The email trails. Marcus's unwitting involvement. Victor Reeves's threats. All of it. The truth, finally, after 15 years of silence. Outside, the black SUV's doors opened. 2 men stepped out, walking toward the building's entrance. They're coming, Rachel said, her voice tight with fear. Then we better work fast. Erica kept typing. The front door rattled. Someone testing the locks. Jimmy picked up the phone, dialing. This is James O'Malley from the Millstone Gazette. I need to speak to your editor. Now, I have a story about organized crime and media corruption that breaks in 20 minutes. Glass shattered downstairs. Footsteps on the stairs. Rachel hit a key. It's uploading. 60 seconds. The newsroom door burst open. Two men in dark suits, their faces emotionless. One held a phone to his ear, listening to instructions. Erica saved her document, sent it to Lisa Nakamura, copied Rachel and Jimmy, hit publish on the Gazette's website. Step away from the computers, one man said. It's already done, Erica replied. The story's live, sending to 50 news outlets right now. You can't stop it. The man's phone buzzed. He listened, his expression darkening. Then he turned and walked out, his partner following. They'd failed. Too late to suppress the story. Too public now to eliminate the journalist who'd written it. Rachel collapsed in her chair, shaking. Jimmy's phone wouldn't stop ringing. Journalists calling back, demanding details, wanting interviews. Erica's laptop screen showed her article going viral. Shares climbing, comments flooding in, the Associated Press picking it up. CNN requesting an interview. Her phone rang. Lisa Nakamura. What the hell did you just do? My job, Erica said. Finally. The story exploded across the internet within hours. By dawn, every major news outlet had picked it up. New York Times. Apex Media CEO implicated in $185 million money laundering scheme. Washington Post. Local journalist exposes decade-long criminal conspiracy. CNN ran Erica's photo with the cheer-in. Award-winning reporter returns with bombshell investigation. But Victor Reeves had kept his promise. At 6 a.m., federal agents arrested Marcus at his home. The charges: conspiracy to commit money laundering, wire fraud, and racketeering. 32 counts. Bail set at $5 million. Emma called Erica hysterical. They took Dad. Mom, what's happening? What did you do? I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry. You did this. You knew they'd arrest him and you published anyway. Emma's voice cracked. I hate you. I hate you for destroying our family. The line went dead. Erica sat in the Gazette newsroom, surrounded by the wreckage of her choice. Lisa Nakamura had called twice. Federal prosecutors wanted to meet, needed her testimony, but the case against Victor Reeves was complicated by Marcus's involvement. Defense attorneys were already spinning Marcus as the mastermind, claiming he deceived Apex Media. They're making him the scapegoat, Lisa said grimly, unless you testify that he was an unknowing facilitator. Will that help him? Maybe, but it weakens the case against Reeves. Prosecutors want a clear villain. Right now, they have your ex-husband. Jimmy brought coffee. He looked exhausted, triumphant, and worried all at once. Diane Cartwright Monroe just arrived. Edmund's daughter. She's threatening to sue us for defaming her father. Diane stormed into the newsroom, tall, sharp-suited, furious. You destroyed my father's reputation. Published his confession without his permission. Do you have any idea what you've done? I published the truth. You published a dying man's guilt-ridden rambling. Diane slammed a folder on Erica's desk. Apex Media filed a $100 million defamation suit this morning. They'll bankrupt this newspaper. Destroy what's left of my father's legacy. Your father wanted the truth exposed. My father is in the hospital with heart failure because of the stress you caused. Diane's voice shook. He had a massive heart attack last night. He's on life support. The words hit like a physical blow. Edmund, kind, weary Edmund who'd given her this job, who'd confessed his sins hoping for redemption, was dying because she'd published his letter. Rachel appeared in the doorway. Erica, you need to see this. A new article from Apex Media's lawyers. Disgraced journalist fabricates evidence in desperate attempt at relevance. They were attacking her credibility, claiming she doctored documents, that Katerina Volkov didn't exist, that Marcus was the true criminal and she was protecting him by deflecting to Apex. They're destroying you, Jimmy said quietly. Erica's phone buzzed. Victor Reeves calling. She answered. What do you want? To remind you that you still have a choice. His voice was calm, almost pleasant. Marcus sits in a cell right now facing 20 years. Your daughter hates you. Your son is traumatized. Edmund Cartwright is dying. And for what? A story that my lawyers will dismantle piece by piece. The evidence will be challenged in court for years. Meanwhile, your family suffers. But I'm offering you an out. Retract the story. Admit you made errors in your reporting. Apologize publicly. In exchange, I drop the lawsuit, the charges against Marcus get reduced to probation, and your children get their father back. And you continue laundering money. The world continues turning. Crime continues existing. The only difference is whether your family survives intact. Victor paused. You have until noon. After that, the offer expires and Marcus spends the next 2 decades in federal prison. Your choice, Ms. Jones. Journalism or family. You can't have both. He hung up. Erica looked around the newsroom. At Jimmy, who'd sacrificed his redemption once before out of fear. At Rachel, young and idealistic, still believing journalism could change things. At Diane, protecting her father's legacy even as it crumbled. At her laptop, where Emma's last text glowed. I'll never forgive you for this. The journalist in her knew retracting was betrayal. But the mother in her knew that keeping Marcus in prison meant her children lost their father. That Emma's hatred would calcify into something permanent. That Daniel would grow up visiting his dad behind bars, understanding that his mother's career had destroyed their family. There was no right answer, only different kinds of loss. Erica didn't retract the story. At noon, when Victor Reeves's deadline passed, she sat in Lisa Nakamura's office and gave her formal statement to federal investigators. For hours of testimony, every document explained, every source verified. Katerina Volkov's flash drive entered into evidence. By evening, the U.S. Attorney's Office issued a statement. Federal investigation launched into Apex Media Group and CEO Victor Reeves. Marcus Pemberton remained in custody, but prosecutors acknowledged his role as potentially unknowing facilitator pending further investigation. It wasn't enough to free him, but it was something. The Millstone Gazette published a follow-up piece, Jimmy's Work, drawing on 40 years of contacts. He'd found 6 more newspapers connected to the laundering scheme. 3 former Apex employees willing to testify. A paper trail linking Victor Reeves directly to organized crime figures in Chicago and New York. The story went viral again. Rachel ensured it spread across every platform before Apex's lawyers could respond. Twitter exploded. Reddit dissected every detail. Journalism schools were already discussing it in ethics classes. But the cost kept mounting. Apex Media's lawsuit proceeded. $100 million in claimed damages. Diane Cartwright Monroe hired the best attorneys money could buy, arguing that publishing Edmund's private confession without consent was legally actionable. The Gazette couldn't afford to fight both cases. Edmund died 3 days after his heart attack. Never regained consciousness. His obituary in the Gazette was written by Jimmy, honest about his complicity, but also honoring 45 years of community journalism before the compromise. The funeral was small. Diane didn't invite Erica. Marcus remained in federal custody. Emma refused to speak to her mother. Daniel cried every night, asking when Daddy was coming home. Claire called daily with updates, her voice tight with worry about the children's emotional state. Emma's not eating properly, Claire said. Daniel had a panic attack at school. They need you, Erica, or they need this to be over. But it wasn't over. Victor Reeves had gone into hiding, but his lawyers were everywhere. Filing motions, challenging evidence, deposing witnesses. Detective Nakamura worked 18-hour days building the federal case. Rachel dug deeper into Apex's financial networks, finding connections to politicians in 3 states. And every night, Erica sat alone in her apartment, staring at her phone, hoping Emma would call. She never did. The break came 5 weeks after publication. Federal agents raided Apex Media headquarters with search warrants. They seized servers, arrested 3 executives, and froze 37 bank accounts. Victor Reeves was found attempting to board a private plane to the Cayman Islands. Arrested at the airport, charged with money laundering, racketeering, wire fraud, and conspiracy. The news showed him in handcuffs, his expensive suit rumpled, his confident smile finally gone. Lisa Nakamura called that evening. "We got him. Federal prosecutors are confident. The evidence is overwhelming." "What about Marcus?" A pause. "They're offering him a deal. 5 years probation, disbarment, community service. He cooperates fully, testifies against Reeves, and he walks. No prison time." Erica closed her eyes. "He'll take it. He already did. His lawyers called an hour ago." Lisa's voice softened. "Erica, he's angry. At Apex for using him, at himself for not seeing it, but mostly at you for exposing it. Don't expect gratitude." "I don't." Marcus was released 2 days later. Erica watched from her car as he walked out of the courthouse, his lawyer beside him, camera crews shouting questions. He looked older, diminished. The confident attorney was gone, replaced by someone who'd glimpsed how close he'd come to 20 years in prison. He saw her car. For a moment, their eyes met. Then he turned away and climbed into his lawyer's vehicle. Emma finally called that night. "Dad's home." "I know, baby. I'm glad." "He's not the same. He barely talks. Just sits in his study staring at nothing." Emma's voice cracked. "You did this to him." "Emma, no. You chose. You chose your story over our family. I get that you think it was important, that journalism matters. But Dad's destroyed. Daniel's traumatized. And I don't know if I can forgive you." "I understand." "Do you?" Emma's anger finally broke through. "Because I don't think you do. I don't think you understand what it's like to be 14 and have everyone at school know your mom's investigation put your dad in jail. To have kids whisper about you in the hallways. To see your name in articles about money laundering and criminal conspiracies." Erica's throat tightened. "I'm sorry. I never wanted. But you did it anyway. That's what matters. You did it anyway." Emma was crying now. "I'm staying with Dad for a while. Daniel too. We need distance from you." The line went dead. Erica sat in the dark, her phone silent, her apartment empty. She'd won. Victor Reeves was facing decades in prison. Apex Media's empire was collapsing. Federal investigators were following the money trail to politicians and organized crime figures. The story was everything she'd hoped for: significant, consequential, career-defining. And she'd lost her children in the process. 6 months passed. The Pulitzer nominations were announced in April. The Millstone Gazette was a finalist for investigative reporting. Erica Jones, James O'Malley, and Rachel Torres listed as co-authors. The journalism world celebrated. Interview requests flooded in. Job offers from major newspapers. But Emma still wouldn't speak to her. Daniel managed short, awkward phone calls where he mostly talked about soccer practice and avoided mentioning anything important. Marcus responded to co-parenting texts with clipped, professional language, all warmth gone. Diane Cartwright Monroe dropped her lawsuit after Edmund's will was read. He'd left everything to establish the Cartwright Foundation for Investigative Journalism, a nonprofit organization dedicated to funding local reporting. His final act of redemption. Diane, reading her father's intentions, withdrew her legal action and took over running the foundation. The Millstone Gazette survived. Diane restructured it as the foundation's flagship publication, using Edmund's estate to fund operations. Greg Palmer had disappeared. Rumors said he'd fled to Mexico. Jimmy became managing editor. Rachel, digital director. And Erica. Erica remained a reporter. In June, Victor Reeves was convicted on all counts. 47 years in federal prison. His media empire dissolved, its assets seized. 32 people faced charges connected to the laundering scheme: politicians, executives, organized crime figures. The investigation Erica had started rippled outward, exposing corruption that reached further than anyone had imagined. She should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt hollowed out. The day of the Pulitzer ceremony, Erica sat in her apartment getting ready. The phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Mom." Emma's voice, after 6 months of silence. "Hi, sweetheart. I saw." I saw they're giving you an award today. Us, Jimmy and Rachel too. A long pause. Dad told me I should call, he said. He said you were right, that you had to publish, that he was the one who screwed up, not you. Erica's eyes burned. How is he? Better. He's teaching business ethics at the community college. Says it's penance. Emma's voice wavered. I'm still angry at you. I know. But I watched the trial. Read all the articles about what Apex Media was doing. About the organized crime connections. About how many newspapers they destroyed. And I understand why you couldn't stop. A breath. I don't know if I forgive you yet, but I understand. That's enough. That's more than enough. Daniel wants to talk to you. Actually talk, not just say fine when you ask how school is. I'd like that. And maybe I could come visit next weekend? Just me. We could talk. Actually talk. Erica wiped her eyes. I'd love that, baby. After they hung up, Erica finished getting ready. She looked at herself in the mirror. Older than she'd been a year ago, with lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, but also stronger, more certain. She'd made the hardest choice of her life. Lost her children's trust. Damaged her relationship with them perhaps permanently. Watched Marcus's career implode and Edmund Cartwright die burdened by guilt. But Victor Reeves was in prison. Apex Media's criminal network was dismantled. 47 newspapers were free from corruption. And journalism, real journalism, the kind that held power accountable, had proven it still mattered. The cost had been devastating. But the alternative had been silence. And Erica Jones, for all her doubts and fears, could no longer live with silence. The Pulitzer ceremony felt surreal. Erica stood between Jimmy and Rachel as they accepted the award for investigative reporting. Cameras flashed. The journalism world applauded. But Erica's eyes kept drifting to her phone, hoping for another text from Emma. Afterward, Marcus appeared in the hotel lobby. He looked sober, tired, but somehow more honest than she'd seen him in years. Congratulations, he said. I'm sorry. For everything. Don't be. He managed a bitter smile. I facilitated 32 criminal transactions. Ignorance isn't innocence. You just forced me to see what I'd been avoiding. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.